Hi, and welcome to Pirate Radio. You're listening to me, Greg and Cadus, talk rubbish. Where do you want to start this week? Shall we start at team news? Let's start at team news. I can't really remember what team news has happened. So let's start in Prem. And Too Strong look pretty strong. How's that for a smooth line in? Take it away, guys.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, normally we have like a list of topics, but everyone's too tired.
Somebody
today.
lost
we have
it.
Nothing at all. We have absolutely nothing at all, so we're just going on what we remember. So, starting with Too Strong, I don't even remember what the team is. Taimu, Astanis, Harry Hook, Trax,
Klar,
Unmute on Mumble, Skyride.
GDK as well.
Klar and GDK.
How could you forget
there
GDK?
you go.
He's the hero of the day.
The hero of today that domed you guys 6 times.
He did. He got 6 of them.
41 for
11.
11. That's pretty impressive for a
Was it 41? I think it was 45, wasn't it?
He said, the screenshot said 44 to 11.
Oh, I had the screenshot linked to me like 7 times in 5 minutes, so I should remember really, but I don't.
Well, that's what you want just after it happened.
It's hard. It's hard to read the
It's like
screen.
falling over and then being sent a photo of you falling over. Look at this. Oh, thanks, guys.
It's hard to read the screenshot through my fingers. I'm palming my face. Couldn't quite see the number.
So what these guys are talking about is TCM played the new Too Strong lineup. Basically, for those of you who have no idea what's going on, and TCM got destroyed. And then, but basically, since last week, they had 5 players last week confirmed, and we didn't know who the last player was going to be. And Klar seems to be it. Seems to be fitting in well. I don't really know much. Haven't played against them, have I? I might have played against them actually once. I don't remember. I'm so tired right now.
Leaving that question open to the floor, have I? Well,
I think I did actually. Yeah.
Memorable game, I imagine.
Very.
Well, from what I can picture, Klar would fit into Taimu's style of play of soldiers jump at crap, everyone else just clean up kind of methodology. I shouldn't have gone with that word. Style
Methodology.
of play. Thanks, team. Yeah, I think that would it just all fits very nicely together. Klar likes to jump. Taimu likes soldiers to jump. It's like
look at that. How does that work? So yeah, I think it will work pretty well, to be honest. And judging by some of the screenshots I've seen of the team working together, I think it's looking pretty good. GDK seems to have come out of his shell a little bit, from what I gather. But we'll have to wait and see what actually happens in the actual season for that team. Cadus, do you have anything more to add about that team?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, historically, I like to talk about historical things. Historically, these teams that Taimu makes, I don't want to be bad-mouthing or look bitter because they rolled us today. But historically, I find they do perform, like, better at the start and then proceed to get worse and worse and worse. Yeah. And I think it's a combination of often the personalities in the team begin to clash as results stop going their way so much as they perform worse. They like go on like a downward spiral because of the kind of personalities they often consist of, and also because Taimu teams typically play like they don't play that differently, but they play in a very specific way. Like it's really really aggressive, and I think the more you play those kind of teams, the easier it gets. Because you just basically learn to cope with the way they play. Like because it is very predictable. Like. They jump both soldiers. A scout comes flying in your face, and then they just have like a full buff demo able to spam down on everyone. But it's like it works, but then it stops working as teams. They just think, okay, it's this team. They do this. They play this way. It's very specific, and they just come up with like a quick tactic to counter it. And after like a month or so, their just results plummet in general. Like taking absolutely like nothing away from them today. Like they were by far like the much better team, but. I don't know. I don't see them being very versatile, if you know what I mean. They just got their way, and they have to play like it. And when it stops working, and they fold.
It's worth said about the aggressive teams that you get to start dealing with them, but with players like Harry and Astanis, they can normally work around that sort of thing.
Yeah, indeed. They don't. Historically, again, Taimu's teams generally don't have Harry Hook and Astanis as their scouts. Like they normally have.
That's a fact, people.
Equally like dribbling retards as they have on the other classes, like good DMers, but you know how it goes. But with Harry Hook and Astanis, I think they've got something a bit more special this time. So maybe they can break the pattern.
Adds a bit of an edge. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, yeah. What I was going to say is that if they have a good start in a game, like get their foothold in it straight away, whether it's the middle one, like or a full round one, I think they'll go on and like have a really good game. But if they end up going 1 round, 2 rounds down pretty easily, I think they'll just crumble completely and never find a foothold back in the game at all. So it's going to be very much momentum based, at least at the beginning with that team.
I can see them being the sort of team that somewhat falls apart if stuff starts going wrong, if things aren't going their way, if they get a few unlucky plays or someone else makes a few nice shots and their strategies seemingly fall apart. I can see it sort of, they're either going to have a tight game or they're just going to get rolled completely kind of thing.
Yeah. But it should be cool to see them in Prem. They seem to be doing half decently, compared to how I thought they probably would do. But then if you actually look at the lineup properly, obviously it's going to be going well with those 2 scouts. Really,
I think for a long time, like the lineup was all up in the air, so everyone was kind of like thinking Timmy would just assemble a kind of bottom Prem team, but he's actually pulled off something a lot more impressive.
Yeah, it kind of felt that they might just go for a mix mash team, the kind of the next team we're going to talk about, where you just like have a day to put everything together and it just gets shoved together in a day.
Wow, that leads us.
Yeah, what a link! How did you like that?
Not as smooth as the 2 strong. I thought that was a piece of genius. But let's move on to my team. Here we go. Autobots. For those of you who don't know, it's me on Medic, Pognon or Onion, as he's somehow nicknamed, on demo. Who else? Koichi and Woody on Soldier. We literally played 10 minutes ago. I don't know why. I can't remember everyone. And some combination of Greg, Droso, and Crouton on Scout, depending on if Greg wants to kill himself or keep playing.
Yeah, after tonight, we'll have to wait and see. For those of you that have played in a new team, right? So you've just jumped into a new team, okay? And you're kind of expecting something to happen, whether you're going down a little bit in skill or you're just used to something happening, okay? As you push in, it's like a call to go push in as push happens. You go in, you're in for 5 seconds fighting. You're like, why is no one in with me? You're in for another 5 seconds fighting, and then you die, and then you click through, and the soldiers and stuff are only just pushing through coke. You're like, sat there scratching your head like, huh? What? It just felt like we didn't have a combo at all today.
I felt like we didn't have a combo, and I feel like if a medic feels like there's not a combo, there probably almost definitely is not a combo. Which, when we had a combo together for small periods of the 2 hours we played, it actually went quite well. It was just trying to maintain that togetherness between me and Koichi. It wasn't quite Hox and Kynal yet, is it? It's not quite there. We're working on it though.
But let's not talk about how their team's actually playing at the moment. They've been put in Prem. Not Prem, sorry, in Div 1.
Yes.
Tired in Div 1, and I don't know how they're going to perform. What do you think, Cody?
Mention the roster. I think that would be a good idea.
Did mention the roster.
Oh, did you? Or maybe you should.
Right at the beginning.
I wasn't paying any attention. I think it's.
That's like our games today.
Well, did you say the roster that you played with today, or the potential
the roster we played with today and the potential roster are the same thing?
Okay, well, looking
we
at
used all 3 scouts today. Some combination.
Yeah. Well, okay. Looking at it, I think Crouton is the superior scout to who you used today.
Take that, Greg.
Indeed.
Oh, thanks.
I don't really get why you drop Crouton out halfway through tonight, because I think he should be the guy that you really want to take. Compared to whoever you're just a Droso using at the moment. I think Crouton was probably the better choice, especially in that team where you have some really, really inexperienced players. I know Crouton's not experienced, but he at least plays safe and smart, whereas Droso doesn't. So, and if you have someone playing safe and smart, you at least your less experienced players kind of have a better foundation, they know what's going on more than if you have someone like Droso who just likes to kind of run around and do his own thing a lot of the time. Yeah. And again, with the soldiers, using Woody and Koichi, I don't really get that. I mean, I know you had some problems with Ips, but it's my understanding that if you looked at it and said, okay, this isn't working, or if you looked at it and said, okay, we've got this roster, it was my understanding that Ips would come back and just slot in. He didn't want any he didn't want any part in the politics or anything like that, but he was still up for playing. And looking at the soldiers you have, with Koichi and Woody, I don't think that's going to work. I think you need Ips. Some people don't rate Ips, but I think he at least he's one of those.
bit of stability to our heavy
Yeah,
lineup.
like he's one of those players who really
Definitely.
thrives on like learning the game and getting like better game sense and stuff like that. Whereas Koichi and Woody, like no disrespect to them, like they're both pretty good at DM and stuff, but neither of them really strike me as the type that are gonna like look to make themselves smarter players. And I think if neither of those players get substantially smarter than they currently are, then that's not going to work. So I think you need Ips or a soldier like Ips, or maybe not specifically like Ips, but a smart soldier or a soldier who's striving to be a smart soldier, because you don't have either of them. And like again, that's the demo and the medic. There's no experience or like particular like natural game sense there either. Like Ponyon, I don't know too much about. Like I've seen him, he's pretty decent, but I don't really know.
He's overly defensive at times. Like he's not quite as bold as he could be. You know,
Yeah,
being a demo man, you can get away with a lot more than you can with other classes like soldier and stuff. You can be
but
a
it's
bit
like
too far forward and get away with it.
it's like the team has good DMers, but it doesn't have great DMers. Like they all have a lot of potential, but none of them are really amazing at the
We
moment.
can't just skill it, basically.
Yeah,
It's
you can't skill
like
it.
today, everyone felt like they were hitting their shots, and you know, we were out DMing the other players like most of the times when it came to situations, but we were still like rubbish, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know like really who else was available, but my personal opinion is if you're going to play this season, I wouldn't. I'd make some effort in making the roster like better. I don't think it's hard to make the roster better. Like, it doesn't.
Thanks.
No, I just, you know what I mean. Like
I know what you mean,
it's
but
not
it
that it's
does pan
bad, but
out.
there are players like you've got players on your roster better than who you were using today. And one of them played half of the games, and you told him to sit out. And I was like, I don't really understand. Like, if you're, like, I don't understand why you did that. Like, are you just like a pussy, and you can't say to one of them, like, no, sorry, mate, this guy is better than you. So
I'm away. Like I was away all day, and
right,
Drosa was the only one around last night before I went to bed. I said, get a game to. So
right, fair enough.
Saying he can't play, and he's got the game.
I guess that's true, but it's like I don't know. Crouton seems to want to play. I guess it all comes down to Greg. Does it not? Like you don't know if Greg actually.
That's what I was going to say. Is that if I
Greg,
like
like,
don't want to play, like keep both scouts around, like because if I don't want to join, then if like you tell Joseph to fuck off, then.
Well, this all got a little bit awkward
Obviously,
because
obviously,
Well, you already talked about this for fucking ages. Let's just move on. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. That's the lineup for the team, guys. Pretty simple. What's going to happen? We'll have to wait. We have to pretty much wait and see whether I actually join or not. Ips would be a good move, definitely. I've talked to him a couple of times about it, but I have to wait and see. Let's go on. I don't think there's any more team news.
Do you want to go on to seedings then? Do you want to whack out ETF12 mainly Prem? Right,
Let's have a look at the Prem provisional seedings, shall we?
Yeah, basically there's 8 teams in Prem this season. Infused, Crack Clan, Epsilon all keep their spot in Prem, unsurprisingly for everyone. New teams, 2 Strong and TCM coming straight in, and Quarantine, Punchline and Acerto all got promoted into Prem. And I think there's no quarrels with those being the top 8 teams in Europe at the moment. Top 8 who want to play in ETF12.
And yeah, want to and can play. Yeah, I agree completely. As for if we're talking about like looking far ahead, seeing how the games go, I think Epsilon, Infuse, Crack Clan all pretty much just roll their games. I don't think it'll be a complete roll actually. I think they'll win majority of their games. They might lose one here or there, like the teams last season. You know, like losing Epsilon lost to Carnage.
Depending on maps as well, like who gets what maps versus like because obviously Gravel Pit's in there, Obscure's in there, which could throw a few teams off.
Yeah, definitely. I think all of the teams might be able to will be able to steal a map off the top 3. But I think it's going to be unlikely. I think it'll have to be like perfect conditions. Everybody up for it, everybody playing to their best standards, and then stealing a map, and the other team slightly playing a bit badly. As for top 4, looking into the actual playoffs, I think Infused, Epsilon, Crack Clan, and 2 Strong.
I think I think fourth will be between TCM and Too Strong, and then you'll get
I
like
think you've got
the
to chuck Quarantine in there as well. Actually, with Boomy and
Oh,
the
with
team as well.
Boomy.
I think you've got to chuck Quarantine in there. They look pretty good when we watched when I casted Croissant, Crackland versus Quarantine. They look pretty good. Got let down a little bit just because they didn't have the teamwork on the map, and on a map where they've got far more teamwork, which the team is kind of built around.
Yeah.
I think they'll perform better. So I think Quarantine will be a team to look out for. It kind of depends how well TCM progress, really. As they are now, not really playing very much. I don't think they'll get top 4. But if they actually start playing, then I think they should probably get it. It'd be close though. Have to wait and see really where the games fall. Because if TCM and play too strong in week 1 or 2, I think they'd lose. But maybe later down the season, they'll win that. Do you want to add anything for the promotion or the playoff spots, Cadus?
Am I lagging?
No.
You're not
Okay.
like me.
I was just gonna say, obviously, where it is close between TCM and Too Strong, and I am biased, but I will say, just for the record or whatever, that screenshot today, it doesn't really give either the full story of the game or the games we've had with them. They definitely raped us today, and they were by far the better team today. But last week when we played them, they were by far the worst team, and then the other time we played them, it was very, very close. So definitely they were better today, but
played them with you guys, and it was a pretty close game from what I remember on one of the maps, and the other one was TCM roll. So I don't know, really. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely. I'm just saying, they're definitely a much better team today, but it's not really the full story. Obviously, I'm biased because I was on the team that got rickrolled today, but I was also on the team that rickrolled them only 3 days ago. So
it's very either way at the moment, and there's nothing. Everything's going to change a lot.
Indeed, and again, trying to be as unbiased as possible. Historically, Temu's teams get worse slowly, and historically, Bytes teams get better slowly. Traditionally, the team Bytes made haven't always they don't really soar straight to the top. Because I think with the way Byte plays, it's the chemistry doesn't form in the same way that it forms in a regular team, with players just doing the thing, and then they find out this and that about each other. Because everyone's playing kind of not exclusively Byte's game, but a lot of it is the way Byte wants to play. And so when you're trying to develop chemistry like that, it does come slower. It does come historically. It's shown Byte's teams, they have got chemistry slowly, but it's not I don't know, Temu's team. They always seem to bang. They kick off with a bang. Whereas Byte's teams, if you remember with Penna and Flisco and that team,
yeah,
they were very, very slow to develop. I mean, when they got there, but it took them a season to get from bottom prem to top prem. But then once they were there with a bang and shit.
Yeah, I think it'll matter when the actual games are being played. Who you playing when for TCM.
Yeah, indeed.
Really, where the league fixtures fall in the season.
Yeah, there's so many new teams, not just us and tryharders, but Quarantine. I think taking Boomy is a huge change for them because it's so dramatic. It's going to improve them so dramatically. So I think if Quarantine were to get the stronger teams later in the season, then I think they would probably be in with a fair shout. Whereas if they got them now, then I think it would just be comfortable for the top teams.
I don't know. You could look at it that way. You could look do you want to play with the top teams first, where you're going to lose anyway, kind of thing, where you're likely to lose anyway, and then be at your best when you play the teams around you. Because I think their games against each other will determine where they fall, not whether they can steal a map off someone.
I think if you're in Quarantine shoes at the moment, you would want to play the likes of TCM, Deserto for the first 2 weeks, and then hit the other teams afterwards once you've got a bit of more experience playing with Josh, and they'd be able to steal maps for sure. That's what I feel, anyway.
You'd want if you're a team that's going to improve as the season goes on, you want Punchline in as early as possible, because I don't think any team in Prem is thinking anything other than 6-0 on Punchline. No disrespect to them, but they are for me, they're I guess Obscure, but Obscure is not going to be anywhere near the beginning of the season. I've seen the map list. Obscure's in the week 5 and 6 or something like that. Week 1's Badlands, Gullywash. So I really don't think Punchline have a chance. They're the standouts for me.
Okay.
Whoever team we sort of got thrown into it.
So if we want to look at the 2 relegation spots, who's going down from your point of view? If we just say across the board Punchline.
Yeah, it's got to be Punchline.
I think they might steal a map somewhere, but I think they won't end on 0 points. But I think they'll still be the bottom.
Fair play
What an
awards there for the
optimistic
taking, boys. Just don't fold.
Yep. Just don't fold. Easy award. As for the other team, who do you reckon it'll be? Do you reckon it'll be a too strong fold? Deserto not putting their weight? Quarantine not putting their weight? Where do you reckon it's going to be?
Just between Deserto and the too strong fold.
So just bang in the middle. Not going to pick one or the other. Brilliant.
Well, if we just presume no one's going to fold, which will definitely happen, then I'd go Deserto look the least strong. Is a better way of saying it. Is there a better way of saying it? I think than because they're not weak.
I think at the moment they're probably the same level as some teams in Prem, but whether they can progress at the same levels that I'm expecting in the other teams that they're equal with at the moment, I don't think they can. But they could prove me wrong. They could definitely go and still prove me wrong and take wins where they need them. But yeah, I think it'll be a relegation battle for Team Deserto, and any point they do get would be a good point, if you see what I mean. Cadus, what about you?
Yeah, it's a toss up between Deserto and Quarantine, like you say. I mean, the other teams outside of the top three, I mean, they could quite easily have a shit season and end up in trouble. But looking at the rosters and the way the teams are playing, you have to pick too strong and no name found to improve more than Deserto and Quarantine. But it's I don't know. I think Quarantine are going to improve more than Deserto, because I think that's what it's about. I think it's about who improves the most, because as I was saying before, there's so many roster changes that how teams play now, I don't think that's going to really have much bearing on how they'll play at the end of the season. And I think looking at it, Deserto will improve the least.
All right. Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, we've just finished talking about Prem, guys. Adam actually needs to, who's our streamer, needs to restart his Skype. So we're just gonna quickly go off air for 30 seconds while he restarts Skype and we restart the call. So do you want to do it now, Adam?
Stay tuned.
It's half time and get your hot dogs.
What? Welcome back to Pirate Radio.
Go for it, Xavi. Keep going, man.
Let's move on to Division 1 seedings, which, for all intents and purposes, everyone sucks, basically. But because everyone sucks, it's going to be close.
Brilliant.
It's like, you know when you go for like races at school and you have all the proper like competitive guys, then you have a race with all the fat people and shit people who can't be bothered. That's what Div 1 is this season. You're either fat or a loser.
Do you want to go through what the teams are for us? So
Yes,
so we all know who the fat losers are.
This season's fat losers include Autobots, the one and only. Team
That's
Cedo.
Team for those that don't know who Autobots are.
Who doesn't know who Autobots are? Team Cedo, which is the Latvian team who won that cash money last year.
Money! And they won some Russian league as well, or Russian Cup or something as well, didn't they, Cadus?
Yep, they won the Russian Cup, sponsored by Angel. Best team in Russia.
Money! Keep guys up.
Naughty Badmen, which is Haunter's team, featuring such superstars as Larsa. That's about it, superstar-wise, actually. There's Oh My God It Is, the old Ukrainian-Russian team, featuring good players and a bad medic.
Not bitter at all there, he's happy.
Well, they got me in because they could only find Div 4 Russians and I left. So, guess what Div their medic is?
Div 1, isn't he? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, Div 1.
Fat loser. There's Avenue Esports, which is like the old damage control thing.
Tarkus' team. It's pretty much the best way of summing it up.
Yeah. Tarkus and...
I understand how retarded it is just by that.
There's ISIS, who apparently have lost half their roster, which is never a good start to a season, really. I mean...
I think it's good for the season, though. I think there's stronger teams in Div 2 than ISIS. Like, they're there because they didn't fold last season and didn't get relegated, but I think, I don't know, they're not very good. And there's some decent teams in Div 2.
They're definitely less good with half their team missing as well. And
Indeed.
Gallant's trying to assemble Russians to replace them, and apparently lots of Russians are just like, no thank you,
nope.
To put it politely. Yeah, people are like, no, just in short. Yeah. So we'll see how that pans out for them. If they fold or whatever, I imagine the Div 1 spot would go to that 21 warm-up rounds featuring the likes of Swifty, Gubbins.
Oh, what a lineup! What a lineup!
Oh, they would fit in with a fat loser trademark.
Who's Perry the Platypus? Is he actually anyone, or is it just a weird?
Gubbins.
No, it's not. Gubbins is Gubbins. Okay, who's Gubbins if Perry the Platypus is Gubbins?
No, I'm sure Perry the Platypus. Oh wait, Gubbins is Gubbins. And Perry, I've got him on Friends. I don't know.
Is it Psy?
Yeah, it'd be Psy. I swear I don't have Psy on Friends. Anyway, as interesting as this is, the other teams in Div 1 are Nitros, who are now hissless, and have replaced him with the mighty reversing Van Hui. And I don't know, they're okay. They've been around a while, changing the roster once a week just to keep everything fresh, you know. God, that's aggressive. And then there's completing Div 1 is for Justice League, who are probably my money is on to win it. Really, that's Tabik's team with the likes of Justice, Talash, Old Grandma, those sort of players.
Right, well, I just want to give Xavi a little round of applause for going through all the Div 1 teams excellently. I was brilliant, Xavi. Well done.
An Oscar, I dare say, is in the works.
At least 2.
So, I have no idea who's going to win Div 1. I will hazard a bet. If I'm going to go... Right, it's either going to be like Justice League, Cider, or Nitros, I think. That's what I think.
Yourself there, Greg.
Well, Autobots, if I play, are obviously going to win. Yeah. No. I don't know. It's really close, so we'll have to wait and see what really happens.
It'll be interesting to watch.
I will hedge my bets on... I think Nitro will do it. There you go. That's who I'm going with. Cadus, what about you?
I'm not sure, but I want to say I don't think the Div 1... I don't think it's as bad as people are saying. I mean, it's certainly not great. There have been much better Div 1s, but I think all it really lacks is like those 1 or 2 front runners, and then it's the same as any other Div 1 that we expect to see, like save 1 or 2 seasons that had it particularly strong. But I think they're the exceptions rather than this. It's just like it just lacks like that Broad or Yo-Yo Tech or whatever from seasons gone by that are just like clearly going to fucking win it. But like that doesn't make it more interesting really. It just makes Prem better than next season. But I mean, whoever wins it probably fold anyway, so it won't actually make any difference. Going back to going to the question you asked me, I think if Autobots do like what I said and drop the clearly like bad players and get in like the experienced players that they need and could easily get if they had any sort of
can't win by
brain.
himself, Cadus.
Yeah. I don't want to go back into it. Seems to make Greg sad when I talk about it, so I won't go back into that. But I think Sido could quite easily win it if they were to play. I mean, I heard that they're actually going to play the season now, which wasn't confirmed before, as far as I knew. And I think on paper, like they clearly should win it if they want to.
They definitely have the best mix of experience and like talent, and like people who actually know what they're doing, mixed with people who can hit shit.
Yeah, like I mean, it depends how much they're going to play. Like I'm told, Destructo is quite busy, and the others only really play when Destructo's around to play. They don't bother getting a Merc or anything like that. But I mean, if like Fate smiles on them and Destructo has enough time to play like 3 nights a week or something, then I think they could quite easily win it. I think it depends on Autobots getting their shit together. If Autobots were to get their shit together, they could be like a front runner. But
I wouldn't put money there.
At the moment, I have no faith in that whatsoever because.
Thank you.
Like, well, as far as I can tell, the only like organizational like people in that lineup are you and Drosophile. One of them I think you should cut right off the back, and the other you have work like nearly every day. So anything about it.
I do have one day off, but I think I'm casting. So
yeah, indeed. Like they should probably cut you to be honest, because you don't seem to actually be that available.
Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna fill in the form at work. It'll be fine. I'm gonna storm into the manager's office. I need time off, Paul. I've got fucking computer games to win. Cadus has called me out on a podcast online. Listen to this shit.
Yeah, Nitro's definitely better than they were last season. But I don't think they'll win it. I think they've got some of their players are really good, but some of them are nowhere near what they would need to be. Omgits, I don't know fucking anything about. Like they strike, like the name strikes me as like, oh, they must be quite good. Like they got Spicky, whatever his name is. He was quite good for a while until he got banned for cheating.
IDNK are like both sick scouts. Like they're both. When I played with them, they were definite the carries in the team. They were so good, so much damage. They were pretty, mouse one kind of stereotypical Russian style. But when everyone on the team's doing that, it's still difficult to deal with.
Is Cyclus playing demo for them?
I don't know what they're doing demo-wise. Last I heard it was Rodif. That was quite a while ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got Cyclus back in.
If they had Rodif, that would probably be not bad, but Cyclus is kind of bad at TF2, so...
Apparently they've got Unhuman in.
They got who?
Unhuman.
Who the fuck is Unhuman? I don't even know who that is. Right, they're out of it. I don't even know who their fucking players are, so they're nowhere near. Nowhere near. They can't be if I haven't heard of them.
I just want to interrupt you very quickly about something you talked about earlier, right? You were saying that Autobots could win it, right? It could be the outstanding team. You're saying right there the Commander X is a top Div 1 medic. Do you want to retract that statement right
I'm a high gamer.
No, but
I read it on ETF2. I'm a high gamer.
I think between like if you joined and then they had Crouton and then like Ips, like if Ips actually cared enough to play properly with them. And like I don't know, I think it would come down to a lot of factors. Like overcoming Commander X being awful at the game would be probably the big problem. But I mean, it's doable.
I make the same noise as a main caller. I just don't have any of the actual input or benefit to the team as a main caller. But I'm certainly making the right amount of noise, which is a good starting place, I feel.
Useless noise is brilliant. White noise in the background of our comms.
White noise would probably be easier to tune out, actually, than my loud whatever. Anyway, we're going to just get Greg depressed again, reminding him of tonight.
I don't even remember what... during our 2-minute break, guys, we tried to discuss what our next topic was. I don't even remember what it is. Like that was only like
Greg. Good thing I'm hosting. We can clearly see who the top Div 1 professional here is.
What? Just keep talking.
It's what I do. I've sort of been doing all night, and it worked out fine for us, didn't it? Let's move on to Angels Cup. Basically, Epsilon played Infused tonight, and Epsilon won, and none of us saw it. But good job to Epsilon.
Yeah, proving that they can still take down Infused. It's a pretty crucial game, really. Like they needed to beat Infused to show that they haven't lost anything, and it was just a one-off that Infused beat them. I think Infused was some of their players are slightly arrogant going into it. I'm not 100% though. I know Dunk wasn't at all. I know Dunk was expecting to lose, but he always goes into games like that just because it helps him out with like motivational wise. But I don't really know. They haven't played for a while, so possibly before because of that they didn't really like think they were going to win. But I have to wait and see. Really, it means that it's like down to the final three, isn't it? That cup: Crack Clan, Infused, Epsilon. So the low bracket is going to be Crack Clan versus Infused. It'll be a best of three, and it's on Thursday.
Yeah, 26th.
If they can reorganize it, so I wouldn't like 100% say it's Thursday, but it's meant to be Thursday.
But you have to play it that week, don't they? I think basically before the next deadline, which is the grand final on the 3rd, which I believe is the Thursday after. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got like 14, or not 14, like 9 days to play it, something like that. Probably more than that. I just can't count for shit, like because I'm too tired. So it should be good.
Think Crack Clan will take it. I think Crack Clan are really on form at the moment. They really brought it on to the next level, and I think they can. I think they'll take it and challenge Epsilon in the final.
I disagree. After seeing Crack Clan play on Croissant versus Quarantine the other day, whether it was Quarantine that played well or Crack Clan that played badly, but it felt like Quarantine were doing everything right to stop Crack Clan playing like the way Crack Clan wanted to play.
You said they were playing Croissant.
I was about to say I felt it.
The map that they've never fucking.
Yeah, but it still makes a difference. Like on a map like that, surely the Crack Clan team should just go in and DM it, and in theory against Quarantine should go and win that DM fight. Yeah, and they weren't doing that at all.
I don't know, not necessarily. I don't know. I guess on DM, yeah, but it's
like Croissant. Like I know Red Shot isn't really a massive fan of it, and I don't think they like it that much as a team.
I think there's a lot also to be said for how try-hard Quarantine can be when they want to be, and how like much in theory like they could have mentally prepared for that game. And two, I think I think Crack Clan are are a very instinctive team. Like a lot of them just play on instincts because they don't comm that much because they comm a lot, but you can't understand fucking a word they're saying. It's like just a complete fucking mess. I think mostly they're just playing on instinct, and when you're playing on a map where you have no natural instinct, or at least the instinct you have doesn't apply because you don't know like. I don't know, when I played Croissant for like the first time or the second time, I could barely find my way around the map half the time, so...
I did notice that lots of times, Royce would Uber, he'd go to run forward, he'd flick round, bring someone else in with the Uber, and just fall off a ledge because he wasn't sure where he was going. And he'd be like, oh, this push has kind of stopped, I'm lower, guys, come help me. And it was just like... I think, Crack Clan's sort of teamwork has come with time. It's just a lot more natural. Like, Matten and Retrock and Royce have played together since forever. And, like, a lot of that teamwork is just comes naturally. They know what each other likes to do on certain maps. But when it's Croissant, they don't even know what they like to do themselves, let alone what their teammates want to do.
Well, don't get me wrong. I still think they're going to do well, and they'll probably take a map for sure, and maybe even push another one to a golden cap or something. But I still think Confused will win. Kalis, what do you think?
I don't know. I want to go back to the other game for a moment, though. The one that happened tonight, the Epsilon Infused, and say, fuck me, did Epsilon need that win? They've looked like, I don't know, they're like neutered bulls or something the last couple of weeks, like ever since I lost to Infused. Like their play, like in the PCWs that I've played against them, and I think I spec'd some of them and things like that. They've literally looked like a completely different team lately, like, and not in a good way. Like, I don't know, they've looked a complete mess lately. But I think that win against Infused, it was like not only required, like for them to like not have an absolutely awful season, or at least the next like month or so being completely awful. But I think it would now do a lot for them going into the rest of this cup.
They're back in the driving seat, like the position they're used to being in all the time, like, as for favourites, as for ones in control.
Yeah, because, I don't know, they've just looked really bad lately, but I think that will do a lot for them. As for Infused Crack Clan, could not call it, really. I'd give the edge to Crack Clan, because I think they've played more lately.
Okay.
And I didn't see the game tonight, but the fact Infused won it, they only just narrowly won it, but I don't know, it really depends how Epsilon played. I can't really draw too many conclusions, but if Epsilon didn't like starkly improve tonight compared to how they've been playing over the recent weeks, then I've got to give it to Crack Clan, because if Infused to have lost to Epsilon the way if they've played the same as they have been playing, that means Infused are also playing badly, because Epsilon have just been awful. But if Epsilon like brought it back and were their old selves and just edged Infused out, then I don't know, everything's back in order. So I guess I'd give it to Infused because Crackland typically lose to Infused. That's the way it goes normally.
Yeah, the one thing I do want to say is that like Crackland will be looking to go into this, and if they're playing like you're saying, they're playing quite a lot. They probably want to definitely want to go and win it, but they still have all the pressure off their shoulders. Like they're not expected to go and win it. Like fair enough, some of us might be predicting they will, but like in the grand scheme of things, just because of how everything goes, they're not expected to go and win that game. So it'll be a lot easier for them to play. If Infuse go down, it's going to be so tough for those players to come back. While if Crackland go down, it's not really. It's like, oh, this is how it might. It's how it's meant to
Nothing
go.
out of the
No, yeah, exactly. So I think if Crackland get a lead, it will be detrimental to Infused. But yeah, and then the grand final will be in a couple of weeks' time as well, a week later. So winner versus Epsilon. Epsilon, I think, get to pick 2 maps. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Pick the first map, and then both teams eliminate a map, and then the lower team pick a map, I think.
Okay.
And then Epsilon pick the decider.
The third. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be the best way to do it. Or both elim first, and then that will leave 4 into it, and then Epsilon pick 1, Fuse pick 1. Yeah. So it depends how they decide to do it. I mean, the way they decided to do the map picks for the upper bracket was retarded, but like it didn't really matter just because Croissant was in it. Like it was kind of obvious that whoever had the 2 bans in that for that reasoning one of them would be Croissant, just to be kind to the other team, sort of thing. But if it had been 6 normal maps, the way they did it would have been fucking retarded. But oh well. If you want to know how that is, just go on vanilla on the Infused Epsilon post.
They're all in. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the other cup as well now, Zavi? You can just talk about it.
Yes, basically it's the Velociraptor Cup. This is cups at like an earlier stage. Basically, upper bracket round 4 is happening with one game's been played, which is Equilibrium versus TCM, which TCM won. Good job, Cadus. Keep it up, bro. And the other games are Infused versus whatever they're called, the Justice League to Vix team. Crackland versus Lutunen, which I believe is the old MIPC. I'm not too sure about that. And then the most interesting game, which is Too Strong versus Epsilon.
That should be a really good game. Do you know what map it is?
Badlands.
Okay. So in theory, the top half of the bracket should be Infused versus TCM, because TCM have already won their game against Equilibrium, and Infused should win their game against the Justice League. And the other game, in theory, should be Crackland versus Epsilon, but we'll have to wait and see whether True Strong can upset Epsilon. Okay. That seems like
Badlands hurts their chances somewhat of upsetting.
Well, I don't know.
What? Too Strong? Epsilon? Badlands?
Yeah.
Upset? No.
Yeah, I was about to say that you don't think it's going to happen because it's Badlands, so you're saying. Or I think it could happen.
Fucking idiot!
Like, Timu's teams, like, previously, whenever I play them, have always been the best map they have was Badlands every time.
If it wasn't Badlands, I would say Too Strong didn't have a chance in hell. But it is Badlands, so I think they have a chance in hell. That chance does still reside in hell, though. It's still not very likely.
Yeah, I was about to say Timu's probably going to claim Gravel Pit. Yeah, Timu's the master of Gravel Pit, according to Timu.
Well, they have yet to actually play Gravel Pit, so I'm going to just go ahead and say, okay, they've got a perfect record on it. They've never lost Cheap Pit.
Well, Gravel Pit's in the lower bracket round 7 if they make it that far.
What round are we at now? Round 4? And round 5 tomorrow?
If they lose and then they win the next run, then they'll play now. Basically, the lower brackets at the stage where it's lower bracket round 3 is basically just mainly Div 2 teams with a couple of Div 1 teams waiting to go through to the upper bracket where you get teams like the more Div 1 teams like the Nitros, the Reg Mix are in there, Quarantine, oh my god, all no sort of Div 1/Prem teams.
I was gonna say it's like the lower bracket at the moment isn't too interesting because it's lots of Div 2 teams.
It's
but
still
soon
quite early.
Soon it'll be all the Div 1 teams, and then it'll be the eliminated Prem teams. You know, the same as what's happened in Angels Cup. So it will be very, very interesting, definitely, as it goes down. And I love it the fact that it's double elim. Yeah, again, I do enjoy double elim tournaments so much more than the like single elim of Excello. Fair enough, it takes a while to play over like 4 weeks, but I prefer it so much more.
You get to see more matchups. Like, for example, so many times a Div 1 team would make it quite away and then meet Epsilon and then just get smashed, and then that would be it, and you'd never see the Div 1 teams face off against each other, or like the Div 1 versus low Prem teams, and sort of see how they measure up, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's pretty much it for the Velociraptor Cup. Is there anything more for us to talk about?
Isn't there the other cup coming up?
A quick shout out, Alienware, Dignitas just announced another Alienware Cup. The tournament's going to take place on Sunday the 29th at 70 CET. There's a cash prize of £200. So
That'll be a one-night cup, fun 5 hours of TF2.
I've not actually read it. 32 teams. I can't see anything. I imagine
it'll be the same as like their other
map
ones.
pools, Badlands, Granary, Gravel Pit, Gully Wash, Snake Water. So they basically just ETF for map pool minus obscure. There's also
it's almost like it makes sense.
It's almost like they thought about it. They're all best of one except for the final, which is best of three. Anything else really not really interesting? Oh, basically the prizes go 100 for first, 50 for second, and £25 for third/fourth. So you just need to get top 4 to get some money. Because £25 between 6 people is a good ratio for everyone.
To be honest, it's not that bad. It's a bit of money. Like when we've had it at the previous Infused or to play, whenever we've got that sort of money, like 25 quid, we've just gone to LAN and bought a crate of beer with it. Like, you know, it's awesome.
Well, you've been ripped off paying £25 for a crate of beer, I can tell you that.
Oh, the crates at LAN are expensive, man. Fuck it. Like, oh my god. Yeah, I have one more thing to announce, and I think that's it for us, and that's the Highlander show match on Wednesday. I have sorted the lineups and everything earlier today. I did it like just before this, so I will go through it right now. They're in like different orders sort of thing, just because I was too lazy to order them properly on my list. So for the moment, I'm just going to go down Team A, which is of course Gear, Greg, Flisco, Numlock, Nox, Longas, Royce, Randa, Pescanova. So Gear's on Engineer, I'm on Spy.
Yay! Good job, everyone.
Flisco's on Pyro, Numlock's on Medic, Nox is on Heavy, Longas is on Soldier, Royce is on Sniper, Randa's on Scout, and Pescanova's on Demo Man. Team B, so that's Matlin, Cookie, Dunk, F2, Bash, Walters, Shocky, Mike, Red Shock. Matlin's on Heavy, Cookie's on Spy, Dunk's on Soldier, F2's on Demo Man, Bash is on Engineer, Walters is on Medic, Shocky's on Pyro, Mike's on Scout, and Red Shock's on Sniper. Brilliant. Bit of fun. I'll link the list in the chat, and then that's it, pretty much. Does anybody have any shout-outs?
Shout out to Autobots for winning Div 1 in 8 weeks.
Doesn't it finish like?
I didn't ask for a date
weeks?
check. No one would have questioned me, Greg, but you had to bring it up. No one would have gone, actually, I think...
Actually, there's one thing I want to say is that you could win it in 8 weeks if you just win every game, like guaranteed. You probably would.
You're right, Greg. If we win every game, we can win the league. Why didn't I think that?
You might win it
Guy's
early.
got a good point, man.
Right,
It's like Prem, man. He's figured out. The more games you win.
Right, hurry up. I need to go to bed. I'm fucking tired.
No, I got nothing. You can go to bed.
Alright, awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys. I don't even remember what episode of Pyro Radio this is. See you soon.
It's episode 18 or 19 or 20, maybe. I don't know.
Thanks, Matt Chaos. Bye.